We could do that right now. By the end of the day, I can have your house tokenized and available for anyone to buy. Yeah, I mean, it's not at all pie in the sky. One of the things that's very attractive to me is having been through the regulatory bodies and audits and everything else that goes into listing securities or creating free trading securities. What would take us, 6 months to do, through a market like this takes us an hour and a half to do.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Sam Smith, has a background in traditional finance and now has a new venture, Pinx Global Markets, which brings assets like stocks, commodities, and even real estate on-chain, tradable 24/7, borderless, and transparent. Sam, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me.
It's great to have you on here, Sam. I always like to start off at the top of the show by asking guests how they got into real estate. I know you have a on-chain asset, right? But I want to talk about real estate first. We were talking before the show. You have a background in real estate as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of a jack. I think I'm a bit of a master on the finance side, but I've been involved in real estate, manufacturing, entertainment, sports teams, oil and gas. I mean, I'm a bit of a junkie, but it's like money. It's liquid, so it can go anywhere. And I'm a little bit dyslexic, I think. Anyway, I started off with an idea when I was about 19 years old, and I was driving back to the Midwest from down south, and a friend of mine overnight in the car ride said, it'd be great to buy a duplex. Like, yeah, because half the duplex could, pay the debt. We didn't even know it was called a mortgage. Pay the debt, and the other half could be profit. Said, oh yeah, then we can take those profits, roll it into the next one. Yeah. And that was the beginning of my financial journey before I got into private equity and investment banking and everything else. It started off with an idea on a car ride to buy a duplex. Go the next morning, I actually had a bunch of papers laid out on the floor and figured out how we buy things. And about the time I thought I had a good plan at the age of 19 years old, I started calling the real estate agents and having conversations with them and realized, oh, I need to be able to get a mortgage, and had to figure out what a mortgage was and how to do that. And that was the beginning of my journey. I started off in the idea of duplexes. You fast forward, I ended up doing 30, 35 single family units. I've done some apartment buildings, 18 and 20 units. I've also done a little bit of construction, a little bit of development. Later on, I was in the background on the development, but it was the largest green construction project in the country at the time. It was about 110 million. I've also had, warehouse space and industrial space. I had a little bit of strip retail. So I've been around the real estate block a little bit, but I would say my forte really isn't in rehab, remodeling, or development or construction. It's more on the finance side and be able to recognize when a deal makes sense.
Now, coming from that background, underwriting these deals, you talk about multiple different segments of real estate, everything from small multifamily to larger multifamily, to niche markets within there. You were talking about retail, but then you talked about some green energy as well. When did this type of, alternative type of asset, right, tokenization, come into your mind? I'm thinking this is a totally different, almost foreign entity compared to like brick real estate, right?
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Well, wasn't quite that much of a leap because I started in real estate, but right after college, I went to work as a licensed broker in the securities industry and learned about capital formation and securities in the markets. And several years after that, got more into the public markets and reverse mergers and IPOs and amalgamations, consolidations, and all the shuns that we mentioned. So as I'm going through and working deals in several different industries, and real estate, whenever we look at a deal, is kind of a cornerstone because we know we can post real capital against it. Real estate doesn't go anywhere; it's always there. It's always collateral. So always look for it in a deal. So it was kind of a growth trajectory from the idea of buying a duplex at 19 to understanding how finance works and how real estate plays into a deal. But around about 2017, I was in a couple oil and gas deals, had some real estate, and a couple other projects, and Bitcoin hit $20,000. I'm like, what? Because a few years before that, somebody approached me, hey, you want to buy some Bitcoin? And my research on Bitcoin told me that if I ever want to get a hotel room in Guam, that I can use Bitcoin. Like, well, that's not going to happen, so I don't need any Bitcoin. I don't remember what it was maybe 100, $200, something like that. I mean, it was silly. But when it hit 20,000, I'm like, all right, we need to figure out what this is and do a little bit of research on it and creating as much understanding as we possibly could. And said, you know what? Let's go ahead and trade Bitcoin for oil. So we had oil properties and there were a ton of Bitcoin millionaires, newly created Bitcoin millionaires. So, well, okay, well, we'll take Bitcoin in exchange for oil interests, or it could have been real estate. If we had a real estate project, we were willing to take Bitcoin for real estate. In our case, it was oil. And put together a pretty fantastic program. Like, wow, you know what? These guys can actually step into the real markets. They're not out there, with imaginary money. They can purchase real assets. But what we ran into was, how do you find these people?
Yeah.
They're just wallet addresses. And that was kind of eye-opening for us. Like, so wait a minute, they've got all these assets accumulated, but nobody knows who they are, where they keep them, or anything else. So that was really kind of curious for us. And we played around with a couple ideas and such and kind of went by the wayside. And as 2019 rolled around and the SEC and FINRA really dropped some hammers on some of the broker dealers and the red tape and compliance just got to be ridiculous. We're like, man, there has got to be other markets for trading. So we stepped back into the crypto markets, the blockchain, and we're like, how can we put securities or assets on the blockchain? And it took about 3 years of diligence and research and understanding. And about the time we thought we had our fingers on it, we encountered something that we really hadn't before. And it's because when I gave you a list of some of the industries I've participated in, real estate, oil and gas, manufacturing, sports teams, those are all traditional,
Right.
right?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Well, if you want to get involved in some fast moving industry, go to technology. So finance moves fast enough, but when you've got technology combined with finance, fintech, my gosh, it moves fast. So by the time we were setting up our infrastructure, rules would change. So we'd have to redevelop the infrastructure. We have to change the jurisdiction. I mean, we had to really move around from place to place. And even when we picked up licensing and such, the licensing requirements would change. So it got to be a moving target. But anyway, we pursued this just because we recognize that there's an entire globe of buyers, of people, of investors, of backers. And we also recognize that the rules are different from one jurisdiction to the next. And there's one place where there really aren't any rules, and that's in the ether. So
Yeah.
we ran that direction.
When we talk about tokenization, right? As a real estate guy, my mind goes to real estate, right? But there's so many possibilities and ways for folks to use this to make it borderless, also to make it transparent. We were talking before the show about something like, title work and, seeing the original chain of ownership without any confusion there. It is interesting though, right? That there is a little bit of this, I don't want to say fear because that might be the wrong term, but there's this caution that people have with jumping into this. And at the same point in time, as there's more and more time that goes by, there's more honestly desire for this throughout the world, right? How many people would love to invest in stocks? How many people would love to buy, let's call it fractionalized US real estate, maybe with multiple people? Are there other, companies or folks in the industry who are kind of leading this charge along with you, or do you feel like you're kind of out there on your own, taking the arrows in the back for everyone else?
Well, I know that there is, quote, competition out there. At the same time, they're kind of missing the mark. Um, and I can explain that a couple ways. But when the blockchain first came around, the tech guys understood its value. And when I first heard of it, I kind of heard what it was, went in one ear and out the other, but I didn't appreciate the value of it. I didn't understand how the technology would change the world, and it will. We're in the Wild West right now. This is the beginning. But the tech guys understood that, and they're like, wow, we can do a lot with this. And there were a number of groups that jumped in and started doing some finance work. The issue was these were younger guys who didn't have the market experience, didn't understand compliance or regulation or anything else. So they ran down the road and honestly got shut down for one reason or another. Flip side of it is you've got guys from more of my generation and background who are going, wow, there's a lot of value in this. And what they're doing is they're putting that same technology into an old system. So they're essentially inventing or recreating the mousetrap again. So we're actually in the middle of that because we've got the core group that understands the technology, the core group that understands the compliance side. And what we've done is taken that middle position because we're not reinventing the mousetrap, but we also understand how we can actually deploy this technology. We've seen a few groups come out here. In fact, we were in front of them, but they went ahead and pulled the trigger before we did. And they introduced tokenized stock. And some of them are kind of in that middle ground, but most of them are on this side, and they've just, picked up the licensing and, went ahead and went through the registration and the other steps so they could actually do what they're doing. What was interesting was we saw these groups came out with the exact same stocks we did. So like, oh, okay, well, we get a free look then. Let's see how it plays out.
Yeah.
It played out really well. I mean, they came out and it was fire because everyone was excited about it. But one of the things that there's an argument this way or that way on is whether this market should be pegged or unpegged to the fiat market. So should the price on the stock market match the price of the token? And I mean, you want to spend some late nights with some drinks and going back and forth and speaking on theory. Some say, well, it's the market, it's a true representation of the price.
Yeah.
And as a guy from that space, I'm like, well, it's the representation that's being put out right now, and it does have some market sentiment attached to it. Whereas I view it more along the lines of you put it out unpegged and let the natural market forces of supply and demand work and dictate what the price of that is. Also just let the market choose which securities it's actually interested in. But anyway, I'll run forever if you let me talk. But I was going to say,
I'm sitting here taking in the knowledge here.
oh,
The idea of pegged versus unpegged. I'm curious. I would have said you would have gone towards pegged because being having the traditional background. When I think of unpegged, I'm thinking of, well, what happens if you have, something that's maybe artificially low just because, there may be less interest in,
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
company that may not have the glitz and glamour in the United States, but may be doing really large business. Like, I'll use an example. I'm a real estate guy. D.R. Horton, right?
yeah,
D.R. Horton is, one of, if not the nation's largest builders. But if we put it on a token, there might not be tons of people looking into D.R. Horton because it's not
sure,
Nike, right?
right.
So I'm curious to get your perspective on, that type of thing. Well, what happens if a stock like a D.R. Horton tied to a token is now super low because people are just not interested in it?
Well, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it because now it's a discount. But that's kind of the point is I'm not the only buyer out there. It creates a lot of arbitrage opportunities. But let me kind of split the idea here in a direct listing versus an indirect listing. So an indirect listing means we're putting out a representation that already exists on the market. And all we're doing is pointing to who they are and what they do. Here are their financial statements, here's their quarterly reports, and all the information is available. And I've got to believe that just about everybody around the globe has heard of Apple. So, oh yeah, we like Apple. The question is, well, why do they buy it? They buy it because it's cool. They buy it because they expect it to appreciate. Do they buy it because it pays dividends? Do they buy it because they're trying to build a position because they're going to trade with their buddy for D.R. Horton stock? Who knows? People buy for a number of different reasons, but in that indirect scenario, all we're doing is taking a look at who they are because they're already reporting. In more of a direct scenario, like a real estate play, we're buying an apartment building. In an apartment building buy, it's going to be information that's provided to the token holders via the market, a direct listing, information taken from the project itself, represented to the market so the token holders can make a decision on what they want. Hey, I like this project. They're opening the doors, are already pre-leased to 90%. I think this is going to be a good one. And I'm a traditional real estate guy, so I believe it's going to improve by, you know, 1.75% a year in value, and I'm looking to sell it downstream.
Right, right.
But there are going to be market forces at work. The market forces at work. The unwritten rules that actually move values. And those market forces, when this project has been sold and built and completed and cash flowing and such, you're going to have chaos in the market. And the chaos in the market is the token holders. Because Tom, who bought that token, had some life altering event, and now needs to sell that position. So when he sells that position in the crypto markets, it's going to go to an automated market maker, which means he can sell it any time of day, any day of the week,
I want to
from
ask you
anywhere.
a
Yeah,
granular question about this idea. If someone is buying or selling a crypto, a different token, right, outside of Pinx Global Markets, right? In most cases, I'd say, as far as I'm aware, in almost all of the cases, there needs to be someone who's going to come ahead and buy that token, or they need to be on some type of a platform that is buying it back at a market price. So when we take that idea and we apply it to something like tokenization of stocks, would folks be able to sell it at any point in time for quote unquote the market value, whatever it is that is determined at that time by the platform? Or would there have to be a buyer lined up and saying, I'm willing to purchase it at this price?
Okay. So I'm going to give you three answers to that question. One is through our market anyway, when the tokens are sold in that real estate project, they go to your wallet. We don't touch them. We don't have any custody of them. They belong to you. And you may put them on a cold drive and throw them in your safe, or you may keep them on your phone, but you own those tokens. Okay. And if you decide to donate them to charity and charity has a wallet, you can straight transact that way. So you can send them over. Two other options just come to mind. One is a book entry system. So this is a feature that we have built into our market that we haven't deployed yet. But the book entry system is a list of buyers and sellers. And it works just like a level 2 quote on the market, where this is everyone who's willing to buy, this is what they're willing to pay, this is everyone who's selling, this is what they're willing to sell for. And it's a matching system. Just the same, you can go in there and say, hey, I want to sell, and this is the highest price for this much. Yeah, I'll go ahead and sell to them. So it's more of a mechanical approach, but you can actually shop the buyers and sellers. That's a book order system. Alternatively, we have the automatic market maker, and it's a constant curve formula, which basically means it starts with assets in parity and an established price, and the price adjusts based on supply and demand. So if somebody bought or sold, it's going to change the price of the pair in the pool. So you can observe that, and if it hits the price you're looking for, then at any time of day or night, you can click the button and you can sell into it.
I got you. Is there any debate or sentiment out there among folks who are in this space that, hey, we should be leaning towards this one direction? Hey, we should be aiming for, more liquidity. People should be able to sell when they want versus no, we should only sell when they have a buyer who's willing to pay that certain price.
No, because part of it is, well, I've done some overseas interactions. In fact, we do a lot of them this way via Zoom and such, but been local many times. But as Americans, and from an American perspective, we are not the most patient people. So when we want to sell, we want to do it now.
Yeah.
We don't want to see the listing go stale on the market for 90 days. We want it sold in the next 2 weeks. And it's the same with the buy. When you want it, Amazon, why do you think they jump through hoops to get it to you the next day? Because you don't want to wait a week for it to arrive. So just in my experience, the conversation has largely been that, yeah, we want it now. We want to be able to sell now. We want to be able to buy now. We want instant gratification. We want to be able to move. So I don't think I've heard any blowback about, well, it should remain in the system it currently exists.
I have a totally unrelated thought. I'm curious to get your feedback on this. You're talking about, I want this instantly, don't want to wait 90 days for this. I'm a Texas realtor. We're seeing, time on market being longer than it was in previous years. And I'm thinking about, how many international investors are looking at real estate all over the country. But I'm also thinking about how many people that are U.S. citizens as well would like to become investors. Do you think at any point in time, or is this pie in the sky thinking, that people could potentially, next 5 years, start selling their home in like a fractional tokenized way to people both domestically and internationally?
We could do that right now. By the end of the day, I could have your house tokenized and available for anyone to buy. Yeah, I mean, it's not at all pie in the sky. One of the things that's very attractive to me is having been through the regulatory bodies and audits and everything else that goes into listing securities or creating free trading securities. What would take us, 6 months to do, through a market like this takes us an hour and a half to do. It's horribly efficient, and about anything be tokenized. But in your scenario, the question I'd have is, okay, well, the same question. I ask this question all the time. Well, why would somebody buy the fractionalized share of that house. What is the benefit? And maybe they're just looking for appreciation. Maybe they know Texas population is growing, so they expect some inflationary effects where the value is going to be higher, so they can sell the token. Maybe that's it. Or maybe it's a rental property, and what
Right.
they're looking for is their 164th of a percent participating interest in that. But yeah, I mean, about anything can be tokenized. Is it marketable? Does it make sense? Would people buy it?
I could continue this conversation and dive into some of the granular aspects of, multifamily properties. I'm thinking about people being able to buy a specific door in a quadplex even. But
Hmm.
we are coming up on time here, Sam. Where can folks go to reach out to you or to learn more about Pinx Global Markets?
Well, we're on all the social media channels. And both on YouTube. There's some pretty good educational content there as far as what the market's doing. Also, just some general content on the crypto community and blockchain and some of the technology behind it. But we're also on Instagram. I believe we're on Facebook and Discord and X and all these places. But best place to go is just Pinx, Pinx Global on your web browser. It'll pull up the market right there. You've got an opportunity to take a look at what we're doing. And here in the next month or so, we're going to be introducing a few more lines of products. In fact, I think I mentioned before we got on the cast that we're actually going to tokenize some property in Dubai and see what the appetite is for that. But check us out and keep a follow on us.
All right, Sam, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.